Namo Vishnupādaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiraye Nashtaprayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamaśloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna, dear Prabhus and Matajis. Welcome to our morning Srīmad Bhāgavatam study session and glorification of Srīmad Bhāgavatam. So the verse we are studying today is from Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 2, Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 3, Pure Devotional Service, the Change of Heart, and text number 20. So this chapter in itself is titled very nicely, Pure Devotional Service, the Change in Heart. So it is pure devotional service which causes the change in heart. Nothing else is able to change. Now here in these series of verses, starting from text number 13, the rishis assemble in Naimiśāraṇya, headed by Shaunaka Rishi. They are addressing Sud Goswami to speak further about what transpired between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami, that conversation. But in prelude to that conversation, they are telling about their realizations as well. So it is pertinent that the hearers also speak about their realizations, and the realizations of Shaunak Rishi and the rishis assembled in this esteemed forum are quite rich and condensed. For example, in text number 17, very nicely, that famous verse is there. Shaunak Rishi says, Ayura Harati Vaipumsam. Udayan Astam Chayan Naso. By the rising Udayan and by the setting Astam of the sun, Ayur Harati, the lifespan of a living entity, is taken away. However, there is an exception to this rule. And what is that exception? Tasyarte Yatshanonita Uttamaśloka Vartaya. So one who is engaged in Uttamaśloka, meaning the best of the selected verses, Vartaya, speaking or hearing, then the sun does not have the power to take away or diminish the lifespan of such a person. Why? Because the journey of immortality and eternity for that living entity has started. The so-called deterioration of the body or death of the body for such a devotee is just the impetus to continue the life in the spiritual world in Golok Vrindavan eternally, where there is no birth, death, old age, or disease. So, very significant verse. Therefore, if the sun cannot reduce the duration of the life of a person who is engaged in Uttamaśloka Vartaya, then by all means, one should constantly be engaged in hearing pastimes of Krishna and singing the glories of Krishna. And in the subsequent verse, we are on to verse 20th now. Shaunaka Rishi, he explains how the faculty of the body is useless unless and until it is engaged in the service of the Lord. So let's look at this nice verse, text number 20. Bilevatoru krama vikramam ye nashinvata karna pute narasya jiva satida durkaiva suta nachopagayat urugaya gatha. Word, bile, snake holes, bata, like Urkrama, the Lord, who acts marvelously. So one of the names of Krishna is Urkrama, who does superhuman things. Vikramam, prowess, ye, all these, never, Srinvata, head. So one who does not hear the marvelous activities of the head, their ear holes are like that of the holes of snake. Karnapute, the ear holes. Narasya, of the man. Jigva, tongue. Asati, useless. Da Durga, of the frog. Eva, exactly like that. Suta, O Suta Goswami. Na, never. Cha, also. Upagayati, chants loudly. Urgaya, word singing. Gathaha, songs. So only the songs describing and glorifying Krishna are Urugaya, word singing. That Gatha is word singing and nothing else. Translation by His Loving Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupāda Ki Jai. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead and has not sung or chanted loudly the worldly songs about the Lord is to be considered to possess ear holes like the holes of snake and tongue like that tongue of a frog. Would anyone like to read the purport, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu, I can read.
Thank you.
Devotional service to the Lord is rendered by all limbs or parts of the body. It is the transcendental dynamic force of the spirit soul. Therefore, a devotee is engaged 100% in the service of the Lord. One can engage in devotional service when the senses of the body are purified in relation with the Lord, and one can render service to the Lord with the help of all the senses. As such, the senses and the action of the senses are to be considered impure or materialistic as long as they are employed only in sense gratification. The purified senses are engaged not in sense gratification but in the service of the Lord in toto. The Lord is the supreme with all senses, and the servitor, who is part and parcel of the Lord, also has the same senses. Service to the Lord is the completely purified use of the senses, as described in the Bhagavad-gītā. The Lord imparted instructions with full senses, and Arjuna received them with full senses. And thus there was a perfect exchange of sensible and logical understanding between the master and the disciple. Spiritual understanding is nothing like an electrical charge from the master to the disciple, as foolishly claimed by some propaganda mongers. Everything is full of sense and logic, and the exchange of views between the master and the disciple is possible only when the reception is submissive and real. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one should receive the teachings of Lord Chaitanya with intellect and full senses so that one can logically understand the great mission. In the impure state of a living being, the various senses are fully engaged in mundane affairs. If the ear is not engaged in the service of the Lord by hearing about Him from Bhagavad-gītā or Srīmad Bhāgavatam, certainly the holes of the ear will be filled with some rubbish. Therefore, the messages of Bhagavad-gītā and Srīmad Bhāgavatam should be preached all over the world very loudly. That is the duty of a pure devotee who has actually heard about them from the perfect sources. Many want to speak something to others, but because they are not trained to speak on the subject matter of Vedic wisdom, they are all speaking nonsense, and people are receiving them with no sense. There are hundreds and thousands of sources for distributing mundane news of the word, and people of the word are also receiving it. Similarly, the people of the word should be taught to hear the transcendental topics of the Lord, and the devotee of the Lord must speak loudly so that they can hear. The frogs loudly croak, with the result that they invite the snakes to eat them. The human tongue is specially given for chanting the Vedic hymns and not for croaking like frogs. The word asati used in this verse is also significant. Asati means a woman who has become a prostitute. A prostitute has no reputation for good womanly qualities. Similarly, the tongue, which is given to the human being for chanting the Vedic hymns, will be considered a prostitute when engaged in chanting some mundane nonsense. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Mataji. What a wonderful paper by Śrīla Prabhupāda. When we look at this verse again, we see how various analogies are being made by Shauraka Rishi, telling that what is the use of the ears if they are not engaged in Shrīngata, hearing the pastimes of Krishna. They are just like the holes of snake. And what is the use of the tongue if it does not chant the glories of Krishna? It is just like da durika, the tongue of frogs. Śrīla Prabhupada gives this analogy of how when the frog speaks, the sound it makes, gra, 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 like that, then that sound actually doesn't have any meaning, but rather it attracts the snake. And the snake comes and it gallops the frog away. Similarly, the snake of time also awaits us. And what we are doing, we are like frogs speaking nonsense. We are speaking Canto, talks which are useless, talks which will not do any good, talks which will not lead us to the path of Krishna consciousness. Therefore, this human life is sublime and it's only meant for hearing the pastimes of Krishna, because simply by hearing the pastimes of Krishna, the consciousness will be elevated. And when consciousness is elevated, then that elevated consciousness transcends us to the planet of the Supreme Lord Shri Krishna. And there one can really live a life of happiness, bliss, and pleasure in association with Lord and in association with the devotees of the Lord. So this human birth, it is said, Bahu Sambhavante, after a very, very long time we have got. Labdhva sudurlabhamidam Bahu Sambhavante. As Jamadagni Prabhu yesterday was mentioning, that there are 8.4 million species of life. And out of that, the human life has a purpose. Therefore, the scriptures say, Manushyam arthadam. So this human life has arthadam, a purpose. But we have to be cognizant of the fact that this human body we won't have all the time. It is anityam, it is temporary. And one who is cognizant of this fact, aware of this fact always, such a person is called a hadhira. He is called a dhira, a sober person. A sober person is always cognizant of this fact that he will die any moment. The breath, inwards and outflow, will stop at some time because he does not trust the breath. Nihsvasa nahi vishvase, kadharuddho bhavishyati. Nihsvasa, the breaths we cannot trust. How in future we breathe out, we don't know whether we'll be able to breathe in or not. Therefore, kirtaniyad mato balyad, harer naam eva kevalam. Therefore, from the very tender age, such a person is always very serious about using his tongue in proper utilization. So, Srimad Bhagavatam emphasizes this point without delay. Turnam. Turnam means without delay. Yatet na patet anumrityu yavad. Before the body succumbs to death, immediately the living entity should engage his or her senses in Krishna consciousness, as Prabhupada emphasizes in the purport here. As far as the sense gratification is concerned, we have already done all those things, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, in so many millions of forms of life. Nishreya saya vishaya khalu sarvatah syad. It has been done before. Punah punascharvita charvananam. Prahlad Maharaj says that it is like chewing the chewed. Just imagine, from a plate of prasadam, we take morsel of food and chew it, and then we put it out again in the plate and take it up and chew it again. That's what actually, in effect, we are doing by constantly trying to be happy through the senses. But there is incompatible situation. No matter how hard we try, we cannot experience that ultimate bliss and pleasure that we are thirsty and hungry for. That is only achieved in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, scriptures say that this is an unorthodox domain, meaning that we have no knowledge or we have no clue as to what this philosophy of Krishna consciousness is. But nonetheless, if somehow or the other we consider the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj says, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichara. Some people will say, what? I eat food and I can feel the pleasure. I hear Bollywood songs and I feel pleasure. I like seeing nice forms of opposite gender and I feel pleasure. All these excuses or rather experiences the people will say. So when we say that there is no pleasure in this material world, it doesn't have any value. This is what the counter argument of such thing is. So Krishnadas Kaviraj to those persons says that Shri Krishna Chaitanya Daya Karaha Vichara. Just consider the daya, the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And vichara karite, and just think about it and follow what he's saying. And what will you find? Chitte pave chavatkara. You will find it strikingly wonderful because you will have direct experience through the process of devotional service, starting with hearing and chanting, of experiencing Krishna. At the moment, one may say that actually I feel pleasure in my family, the food, the various tasty palatables, in seeing movies, in playing various kinds of games, in hearing various kinds of music which are not related to Krishna. They may say, yes, I feel pleasure. But is that pleasure giving us mental peace? No. Is that pleasure giving us bliss and satiation? No. Is that pleasure giving us satisfaction? No. Therefore, how can it be pleasurable? The other point to consider is that instead of giving pleasure, it is actually harming us more. Why? Because it is constantly agitating us. It's like an addiction. A person who constantly goes on looking at the reels in YouTube, yes, the dopamine, it is said, this increases, the chemicals increase, and therefore they have this sense of pleasure they feel. But more and more they get into it, the more and more depressed they become. Why? Because this is asapirikatha. This is not in relation to Krishna. And that which is not in relation to Krishna can only consider to agitate the mind. Very nicely Narada Muni says in Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Tatonyatha kinchana yad vivakshita prithak drishas tatkrita rupanamabhi. That is which is prithak drishas, separate in vision from the names, forms, pastimes, and paraphernalia of Krishna, then nakarhachin kwa pichadushtitamati, then that thing which is not related to Krishna will not give one peace, but dushtitamatihi, it will rather agitate the mind. Therefore, when the person who is overeating, overindulging, seeing too much, feeling too much, it causes great dissatisfaction to such a person. And ultimately, they become addicted, and that addiction is a disease, and it causes mental, completely mental meltdown. So one has to consider, yes, nakar hachin kwa picha dushtitamati labhe tavata hatanav ivaspadam. Very nice example Narad Muni gives that how the boat, Nava, without anchor, according to the dictation of the waves, just goes hither and thither. Similarly, if our consciousness is not anchored at the lotus feet of Krishna, then the waves of material ocean just throw us hither and thither. There is no satiation, but there is complete chaos in the lives of the impious living entities. But these verses that we are studying, these verses bring revolution in otherwise the impious life of ourselves. Therefore, it is said, Vichara karite, think about it, consider it. This is a nice proposition. The proposition of hearing about Krishna's pastime, the proposition of singing Krishna glories, the proposition of thinking about these subject matters. Vichara karite. Definitely, if you consider this and simply do it, then chitte, in your heart, pave, you will get chamatkar, strikingly wonderful. And what is that chamatkar? Pratyakshavamam dharmyam. You'll have direct experience of Krishna. Susukham kartumabhyayam. And you will know that the happiness that devotional service brings and the everlasting joy and pleasure we feel in continuous devotional service, that we cannot get anywhere else. And in reality, when the person is of this nature and temperament, that yes, only devotional service is meant to be performed. No other activity actually will give us happiness or pleasure. Then such a person, somehow or the other, will be able to overcome the urges of the tongue, the urges of the mind, the ages of anger, the ages of belly, genitals, and so forth, and be fixed simply in relishing the nectar of Krishna's names and pastimes. Our Guru Maharaj gives this example of this famous Indian philosopher known as Osho or Rajneesh. He was very proud of himself, and he basically, due to that pride, he started challenging that he cannot overcome, that he cannot be induced or enticed by anyone. His senses are under his full control. But he became overcome by lust eventually. And when he did that, he concluded that life is nothing but fulfilling your desires. And that's all there is to the life. As the famous philosophy of that Charnava Rishi goes, eat ghee even if you have to beg, borrow, or steal. So that was Rajneesh's philosophy, that just enjoy life. And after you have exhausted yourself in enjoyment, then you will realize the Supreme Lord. But these are three gates to hell. Bhagavad-gītā says, Kama, Krodha, Lobha. One will never rise out if one indulges in those activities which are material and dragging us down. On the other hand, we see Śrīla Prabhupāda. He went to the West as well. I think Rajneesh went after. But Śrīla Prabhupāda proposed the philosophy of self-restraint through self-realization, through God realization. And Rajneesh proposed the philosophy of sense indulgence. That's all, nothing else. But whoever followed Rajneesh, their lives were destroyed. There's so much documentary evidence of that. Because the senses actually degrade us and lead us down. But whoever followed Śrīla Prabhupāda, the taste is in the pudding, as they say, their lives became successful. They became joyful. Spiritually, they became enlivened. No matter what the material condition may have been, but these devotees have experienced bliss and pleasure, and they continue to do so simply by staying fixed and chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. It's a simple and sublime process. But in Kali-yuga, there are many, many deviations. And the greatest weapons of mass distractions are our own phones that we carry with us, and the reels that come up constantly. Why? Because they take us away from Krishna-kathā. Tato-nyatha kinchana yat vivakshita. It can be very easy for us to make an excuse. We are seeing a little bit. Arey thoda dekh lete hain. But there is no such thing as thoda, because it just grabs us and makes us intertwined in its entanglement. When the child is born, then the Vedic scriptures say that at least for 40 days, the child should be put in seclusion, where the internal growth of the child's consciousness and spirituality takes place. So that means no going out and showing of the child and everybody carrying china and trying to talk to the child. No. Similarly, when we grow up as well, we need our own time out. Not every time we have to talk. Not every time we have to watch the reels or TV or the movies. Hmm. There should be some time during the day when we are alone and thinking of nothing but only meditating within our consciousness, meditating on Krishna, and just having our own conversation with Krishna. Krishna, for so long I have been away from you. Your Maya, illusory energy, is so strong. It continuously allures me towards trying to enjoy this, enjoy that. And I constantly am becoming a victim of the allurement of your illusory energy. Oh Krishna, please save me. I don't want to be indulging in these material activities which are detrimental for my soul. I'm finding no peace. My senses are not satisfied. I am agitated and disturbed in mind. Please help me. However, we don't even find enough time during the day or the night to have this time for ourselves. We are constantly working, as Prabhupada says, like hogs and dogs, day in and day out. As Narottam Das Thakur, he says that Hari Hari Bifale Janama Gunaino. Oh Hari, alas, I have wasted this human life. Why? Manushya Janama Paya Radha Krishna na Bhajiya Janiya Shuniya Vishakhaino. Because I got this rare human birth, Manushya Janama Paya, but Radha Krishna na Bhajiya. But in this life, I did not worship Radha and Krishna. And it's not that I did not hear or I did not know that I should be doing this. No. Janiya Shuniya, I knew it. I heard about it, that Krishna is to be worshipped. However, Vishakhayinu, knowingly I drank the poison of sense gratification. Golo kera prema dhana harinam samkirtana. This Harinam Sankirtana is the wealth, Premadhana, of your planet Gloloka Vrindavan. However, Ratina Janmile Kenotai, I did not realize its value, even a tiny bit. And I just wasted my life, just like that. Day and night have passed away, and my heart has been constantly burning, he says, that Diba Nishi Hiya Jale, Jurari Tera Koinu Bhi Upaya. That, and I can't find any means to drive away this pain of day and night, which is burning my heart. I can't find no satisfaction. But there is only one way. What is that way? To take shelter of Krishna through Srīmad Bhāgavatam, through his holy names. And unless and until we do that, then our bodies are useless. This tongue is useless, as described here, like croaking of the frogs. It will attract only snakes. These ears are useless if not engaged in Krishna-kathā. It's like the holes where snakes live. And this whole body is useless. It's just waiting to be consumed by the serpent of time. If we do not utilize this human body what is meant for. As Jamadagni Prabhu yesterday said, the budding consciousness, the human body is described as a flower bud which can fully blossom, and it can be offered at the lotus feet of Krishna when the flower is fully blossomed. And so we'll leave there, Prabhus and Matajis. Any questions or comments? These verses are so nice, if we can really meditate and on Śrīla Prabhupāda's purport, then somehow or the other we can get courage to say no to nonsense talks or nonsense hearing, and simply hear about Krishna through Bhagavatam. Yes, any questions, any comments? So as the holiday period approaches, let's keep strong and have each other's sangha. This evening we'll be getting together again at 4:30 at Hare Krishna Temple, Burbank. Even if it's few of us, it'd be nice to have kirtan, good solid 1.5 hours of kirtan, and plenty of help is also needed for prasadam cooking. So if anyone is free and would like to volunteer, please get in touch with me. And at 6 o'clock, we'll have Bhagavad-gītā class, and followed by Arati and observing Mahaprasad. Thank you so much, Prabhu's Mataji's. Granth-raj Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupāda ki jai. Have a wonderful Krishna conscious time. Krishna willing, see you in the evening. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Nice class.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.